Today we're going to be doing literal equations, and literal equations are equations that look literally anything. So in this case, you're not going to see any numbers, you're only going to be seeing letters. And they use letters just as symbols. So it could be anything. It could be a star, it could be box, it could be whatever you want. So for example, imagine I had a box, and this box plus, I don't know, a triangle is going to equal to something else. And let's just say something else is a star. We don't know what these items are, but the point is that you have an equation. This plus this gives you this. So if you wanted to know what was the value of this box by itself, how do you get this box? Well, you need to isolate the box. You need to solve for the box. So imagine you're trying to solve for the box. Well, you got to figure out how to leave the box by itself. So kind of like the way we solve equations, you do the same exact thing. What are they doing to the box? They're adding a triangle. So if they're adding a triangle, then you have to do the opposite. You're going to go ahead and take away a triangle from here. So whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side of the equation. So a triangle minus a triangle, that's going to cancel out. You don't have any more triangles on this side of the equation. So you bring down the box. And this box is going to equal to the star minus the triangle. Now we don't know what these values are, so we're going to just write it out as star minus triangle. So this box is equal to a star minus a triangle. And that's it. This is how you find the value of the box. The box is going to be equal to whatever star minus triangle, and that's how you get this. And that's literally literal equations, just literally that. But of course, this is just with shapes. Now I'm going to show you with letters, because with letters, that's how you're going to see in this assignment. So you have A, M, and P. Those are your four variables. And if they tell you solve for A, that means you got to isolate the letter A. So let's go ahead and solve for the letter A. If we're going to solve for A, then that means we have to get rid of this M. And what are they doing, the M and the A? Well, they're subtracting them. So if they're subtracting an M from the A, we have to do the opposite of that, and that means to add M. So on this side, we're going to add M. Now some of you guys may be confused, do I add M to the N or to the P? It doesn't really matter, guys. We just got to add M to both sides. Remember, this is two sides of the equation. A negative M plus a positive M is going to cancel out. It's going to be 0 M's. What do we have left? Well, we have an A, and that's going to equal to N minus P plus M. We don't know these values again, kind of like the box and the triangles and the stars. So we're going to just write it the way we see it. N minus P plus M. Now that the A is by itself, this is how you find the value. Whatever the A is, we know that we have to get N minus P plus M. For A, now you need to find M. So let's see. We have A minus M, N minus P. A minus M is equal to N minus P. So if we want to isolate the letter M, we want to leave that one by itself, we have to get rid of the A. So the A is in front of the M, and the A is a positive M, A. Since this is a positive, how do we cancel it? We have to do the opposite. We're going to subtract A from here, because A minus A is equal to 0. These will cancel out. Remember, there's an imaginary 1. 1A minus 1A is 0A. So on this side, we have to do the same thing, minus A. So we bring down this negative M, and then N minus P minus A, we don't know what that is, so we're going to just write it the way we see it. N minus P minus A. It looks like we're almost done, but we got to get rid of this negative. Now, how do I make a negative into a positive? Well, you have two ways. You can multiply it by another negative, or you can divide it by a negative. Multiplying is a lot easier, and it looks cleaner than dividing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this by a negative. If you want, you can put a negative 1 if you want, but just know a negative times a negative is a positive. So I need to multiply all of these by a negative as well. It's an imaginary negative 1. So negative times negative, it becomes a positive. A negative times a positive, that's a negative N. Negative times a negative, that's a positive P. And then negative times a negative, that's a positive A. m is by itself, so that's our answer. And that's how you do literal equations, guys. Whatever letter you're solving for, you just isolate the variable. Let's try another one. Example number 2. If they tell you to find b, then, well, let's see what they're doing. B times c, right? So you do the opposite, divide by c, divide everything by c. These cancel. So now b is equal to k minus r all over c. And that's it. Imagine they asked you to solve for c. Do the same thing. You have b, c is equal to k minus r. Well, they're multiplying it, so the opposite is to divide it. But this time, you don't want to divide by c because you're going to cancel. You want to cancel the b. So you're going to divide by b, divide by b. These cancel. We have c is equal to k minus r all over b. Okay. Alright guys, so for this part of the video, go ahead and pause it because I'm going to show you guys how to solve for x. But I want you guys to solve for x by yourself. So pause it, work on it, try to figure it out, and then play it to see if it matches, okay? So here you would have y minus b is equal to m times x. Since they're multiplying x with the m, you gotta do the opposite, divide by m, divide by m. And then you finally get this. X is equal to y minus b all over m. Okay? Now at the same time, guys, go ahead and try to solve for m. Do the same thing, pause it, and then try to see if it matches. I'm going to show you guys how to solve for m. You basically do the same thing. Minus b. So now you have y minus b equals to mx. Finally, you got to get rid of the x now because you're solving for m. So you divide by x, divide by x. These cancel. You have y. Now you have y minus b over x is equal to m. They look similar, but they're actually different answers, okay? Y minus b over m, y minus b over x, okay? Finally, this is the last one, guys, so solve for b. Pause the video, try to get it, and hopefully it matches, okay? So here we go. We're solving for b now. You gotta think about it. Here there's two terms. There's this term, and then there's this term. You have two terms, and you wanna leave the b term by itself. Notice how the b is already by itself. So all you have to do is get rid of the mx. And since this is a term together, m times x, and they're both positive right here, it says a positive mx, you can cancel both of them by subtracting an mx. Because what's happening is that you're adding this with this. Imagine you had a 1 plus 2, and you want to leave the 2 by itself. So if you want to leave the 2 by itself, all you have to do is cancel the 1. So you do minus 1, these cancel, and now you have the 2 by itself. Imagine that's what it is, this plus this. So if you want to cancel this, you want to leave this by itself, you have to do the opposite, minus mx. So on this side you do minus mx. So over here we have a y minus mx is equal to the positive b. B equals y minus mx.